Thanksgiving is coming up, and I know you might be short on cash this holiday season, especially this holiday season. Well, I'm showing you that it can be done. You can make a delicious Thanksgiving for just $20. Welcome to Meals with Maria and the third annual $20 Thanksgiving video. I am so excited to share this with you this year, especially because prices have gone up. We've been struggling with inflation. I recently asked on my Facebook how people are doing with their grocery bills, and many people say that they have doubled. Does that mean that our Thanksgiving costs have doubled? Should we expect $40 versus $20? I'm here to show you that that may not be the case. I went to Walmart and I was able to find items that added up to a $20 delicious Thanksgiving. My family of 5 ate happily and really enjoyed it. I felt like we had all the fixings and we did not miss out at all. As always, if you are struggling with food insecurity and you cannot afford the $20 or whatever it may cost to get yourself a nice Thanksgiving this year, make sure to reach out to your local food pantry or church or food bank. There are plenty of people there to help provide you with what you need. You should never ever feel ashamed to find what you need to feed yourself. We all get into tough times sometimes, and we are all there to help each other out. With that being said, make sure to grab some extra canned goods, some extra items when you go to the store if you do have the means to do so, and always remember to donate to those in need. Without further ado, let's just have a fabulous Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just going to get started by showing you what I got at Walmart. As always, the turkey breast or the turkey is the most expensive thing. This year, because it's early for me, there really weren't any sales on turkeys yet. So the cheapest I could find was $10.49 for a turkey breast. And yes, that takes up half of my budget. I got some pie crust. That was a Jiffy pie crust for 98 cents and apples for $2.58 to make a traditional apple pie. I'm also got some cornbread here. I wanted to make my own stuffing. I could have got the stuffing box for cheaper, but at 98 cents for the cornbread and only 85 cents for the onion, I just wanted to make my own because it's hearty and it's just, sometimes you just want it homemade, right? I got those complete mashed potatoes for only 78 cents, a can of corn for 58 cents, carrots for 98 cents. I would have got the big ones if they had them, but they only had the smaller ones. They were all out of the big. And then for appetizers, I just got these frozen apps at $1.24 each. And I wish I had made something, but I just had such a small budget at almost like $2.50 left that I just grabbed what I could for that price. I am sure you guys could come up with something amazing to make for $2.50. So make sure to note that in the comments below what you would do with your $2.50, because I'm sure it's way better than my frozen apps. They were delicious and we felt very full and happy with them, but I'm just saying, I bet you could do a great job. I'm going to start off by making my cornbread so that I'm going to be ready to make my stuffing. The package instructions just say to oil a pan and then put it in the oven for a little bit and then mix up your cornbread and then take it out and then put the cornbread in. So you're just like cooking the cornbread in a hot pan. I am simply following the cornbread package instructions here. It just says to add water. That's what we're doing. And we're just going to cook it up and we're going to make our own stuffing out of this cornbread. And I'll tell you that cornbread stuffing is fabulous. If you have more stuff at home, you can soup it up. You can add some jalapenos or some sausage. You can add whatever you like. This is considered like a bare bones Thanksgiving, but I always recommend to use what you have on hand in your pantry to make things even better. For the apple pie, I'm just going to peel our apples and slice them up. And this is real time, so at this point my oven had heated up the pan and I'm ready to make my cornbread, and after that I will slice my apple. Thanksgiving is so much about timing, so unlike some of my other videos where I may edit to show just the individual recipe at a time, in this one I really want to show you the actual order in which things happen, because it's so important to cook things at the right time to get everything on the table still hot and steaming. And after the cornbread comes out of the oven, I'm just going to let that cool off while I make the rest of my apple pie. And I realized it didn't fill the whole container here, but that doesn't really matter because I just wanted to cook the cornbread so that I can mash it up anyway, so I really don't care about the shape or the squares. It just needs to be cooked fully. Now, apples or roasted apples have a ton of sugar on their own. You can make an apple pie without any extra sugar and it's still going to be delicious. It's just going to be a little bit more tart. I did add a cup of sugar that I had from my house. That is actually half the rest that the recipe calls for, but it is still delicious that way. So I'm just showing you can use less, and less is more sometimes. It still makes a delicious pie. You need absolutely everything that is required. And then I added a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. When I do these, I do use my own spices and stuff like that. I'm going to assume that you have a dry spice cabinet. Again, roasted apples, as they are going to be delicious. So if you can't add the extra sugar or the cinnamon or the nutmeg,
feel free to pass on it, and I still think you're going to have a delicious, somewhat sweet treat. You could always use maple syrup or something like that as well. So I did just kind of set those aside to marinate, and I'm just going to get my turkey breast all ready. I rinsed it and then I'm patting it dry. Actually, that's like kind of taboo, like if you're supposed to rinse it or not, but I did actually, for some reason I always rinse my turkey but not my chicken, so probably shouldn't rinse it. But make sure to pat it dry so that we can get our spices sticking to it. This recipe does say to put some water in the bottom of the pan, because when you're cooking with just a turkey breast, you're going to end up with a lot less fat because you don't have all that dark meat. And that water will actually help to steam the turkey and keep it moist. And then I just sprayed mine down with some like olive oil spray. You can use any type of oil that you have to cover your turkey breast. And then any sort of seasonings that you like. Sometimes I use salt and pepper. This time I'm using the Auntie Nono seasoning. You can use your favorite seasonal salt, or, you know, some thyme and some rosemary is always good. Whenever you feel like, throw it on there. It's going to be forgiving. It's just going to give the turkey flavor as it is. Even though this turkey breast costs $10.49, I'm happy to report that it comes with turkey gravy, so it makes it nice and easy for you. I just used the instructions right on the turkey breast to cook this. I think it was like $350 for about 2 hours, and you do just want to check the temp when you're cooking it, and it came out great just following those package instructions. Then I'm going to chop up my carrots. So like I said, I wish I got the whole ones because I wanted to do some sliced up roasted carrots. So I had to cut all the little individual ones, which I felt like was, you know, it took some time, but that's okay. They turned out great. I want to use the same Pioneer Woman recipe that I used a few weeks ago in my Pioneer Woman Thanksgiving or holiday recipes. I will put that video down below for you in the description box because there are 8 of them in there. They're all budget friendly and they're all so good if you want to check out some more Thanksgiving ideas. But I basically just covered these in oil, salt, and pepper, and we're going to roast them. I'm not going to get them in there yet. We're going to actually do that once we take the turkey out. Now to make the stuffing, I'm just going to dice up my onion. I realized I could have also sliced the onion in half and put half of the onion inside of the turkey breast. That's an option. And then just use half of the onion for the stuffing. I use the whole thing because I love like a nice cooked onion and it tasted amazing. But if you are not like a big onion fan, you can actually just put it inside the turkey breast and it's going to give it extra flavor too. To start your stuffing, just pour some oil in the bottom of a pan over medium heat. Add in your onion. You just want to cook this for about 5 minutes until translucent. I did add a little bit of salt. It will help bring out the natural sugars in the onion. And while that was cooking, I got worried that my apples were going to get watery, so I added about a tablespoon of flour to the mixture, and that will just help to kind of emulsify the apples once you're cooking them and make them less watery. If you don't have regular flour on hand, you could actually just use about a tablespoon of that Jiffy mix and add that right in, and that will help to do that. Once those onions are cooked down, I'm just adding about a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of dried sage, a half a teaspoon of dried thyme, and a sprinkle of parsley. If you have fresh of any of these, obviously add them in. But these are the dried ingredients that are really going to give your stuffing those traditional Thanksgiving or holiday stuffing or dressing. I always call it stuffing, but I guess if it's not in the bird, it's called dressing. So dressing flavors. Then I'm just going to crumble in that cornbread, and this is going to make an amazing dressing. We're going to add some water to it just to give it some moisture. If you have some chicken bouillon or chicken broth, that would taste good as well. I've done it with water many times. You just add a little bit of extra salt and it tastes just fine. It's delicious. It's a nice cheap way to do it. Also, if you don't have the cornbread and you have like leftover bread, this is a great way to use up few days old bread that's a little bit maybe stale or crunchy. It's going to taste perfect in a dressing or stuffing like this. Pour that right into a casserole dish because we're going to bake this later just to heat it up and get it warm on the table. Now, generally, I would be making my pie before I really even started anything, but just with the way that the day went, I had to get that turkey in to make sure that we could eat by dinner time. So I knew that the pie was actually going to go in kind of with our sides and then cook through dinner and be just hot and bubbly when it was time for dessert. So whatever way you want to do it, you go ahead and follow that instinct. Now, the Jiffy mix is super easy. You just add cold water to it and you mix it up and you get a pie crust. It's crazy. I know. I'm used to like you have to add butter and figure out the consistency. This works so well and it's actually quite good for what it is. You just want to mix it together until you kind of form a ball, break that in half, and then you're going to roll it out just like a regular pie crust. You want to get it as thin as you can. I would say that the Jiffy pie crust always says that it's not 2 9-inch pie crusts. I'm like, there's just no way. It does not make 2 9-inch pie crusts. It makes smaller than that, which was fine for our family of five. We kind of did eat the entire pie in one night, which, maybe I shouldn't tell you guys that, but it was really good. I did use some flour to make sure that it didn't stick. If you don't have flour, you can actually just reserve some of the pie flour to make the pie from the Jiffy Mix. And just think about that ahead of time, set some aside, and you can use that as your flour to make sure it doesn't stick. You're going to get a little bit less pie crust, but not a big deal because you're going to put it in kind of a smaller pie pan anyway. You can see mine's kind of like a tart pan. And then that's kind of my secret for getting the pie crust in there with no problem. You just kind of hang it over your rolling pin and then put it into your pie tin, and it works out really well. I kind of tried my best here to, fill it with the apples and cover it with a lattice, and actually even used some cookie cutters to make some leaves and some pumpkins and cut those out with a knife and try to make like a pretty scene. And it turned out okay. I always see the food bloggers with these beautiful like pictures on theirs. And when I do mine, I feel like it just kind of like melds into the background like you never saw it. So maybe there's a trick to that. If you know that, make sure to comment below and share it with everyone because that'd be super helpful. But the pie tasted delicious. It's all about the taste, right? You try and be fancy, you try your best. I used some milk over the top of my pie with a sprinkle of sugar. You can use an egg wash if you have an egg on hand. If you don't have any of those things, it's going to still taste great even without it. So it's kind of more of an aesthetic thing to kind of make it look shiny and pretty. Like I said, the food bloggers know something I don't about this. but it still looks nice and good once you do that. About halfway through cooking, I did add about another cup of water to the bottom of my pan because it had all evaporated, and I wanted to make sure that it was nice and steamy in there for my turkey breast. I ended up cooking my appetizers in the air fryer because I had the turkey in the oven. You kind of have to rearrange things if you do need to use your oven in order to cook the appetizers, which, you may want to choose something different if you don't have an alternative option. I was thinking you could do like ranch dressing to kind of go with half of those carrots because we didn't really need all of the carrots that we had. I don't know, just some options. You could get some chips or something. Like I said, comment below if you have an idea. If you like what you've seen so far, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. I've got so much more holiday content coming up. I mean, it's kind of my jam. We have lots and lots of Thanksgiving and Christmas themed things for you for this holiday season to get you through. Lots of budget friendly stuff. Pretty much all my cooking is budget friendly and low ingredients. So I hope to share that with you. I hope you'll subscribe and become part of my YouTube family. Well, the carrots will be super fabulous, just roasted with salt and pepper. I did want to add a vinaigrette dressing over the top that I learned from Pioneer Woman. You want to add a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1 tablespoon Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, about a teaspoon of garlic powder. You can use fresh if you have it. I'm just trying to keep it like to those dried spices in this video. A little bit of thyme and a little bit of rosemary. And this makes up an amazing vinaigrette dressing that you can actually pour over your roasted carrots. And for me, it is just fabulous. It's really a game changer. And then salt and pepper to taste as well. I consider these to be, sort of pantry items. Definitely don't go out and buy them if you don't need to. The carrots on their own are going to speak for themselves. They're going to be wonderful. They're just really good with the dressing as well. And so once my appetizers were out, I put them on a plate, and I just had the mozzarella sticks and the potato sticks, and I think they have jalapeno poppers too. So I did have some marinara sauce on hand that I put into that little leaf container. But if you don't have that, you could just grab the potato sticks and the jalapeno poppers instead, and you won't even need the marinara. I knew I had some on hand, so that's why I grabbed those. But I think there's a couple more options as far as those really inexpensive frozen appetizers. Just gonna make things easy for you. My family really enjoyed this because it's not something we always have, so it was kind of nice. And then my turkey, I just want to check to see if it was done. You always want to make sure you have a turkey thermometer on hand, even if your turkey comes with one of those little poppers. This one did not. You kind of never know whether it will and then whether it's going to work or not. So I'm going to put a turkey thermometer down in the description box below, but I think you can grab one at like Dollar Tree or Walmart too. It's just a reminder. just the reminder, don't forget the turkey thermometer, because you don't want to be stuck in a bind where you're like not sure if it's done or not, and then you're cutting into your turkey, maybe losing, some of the heat, or you're overcooking it because you're just not sure and you want to make sure it's cooked. Well, now you have a dry turkey. So just key to have that thermometer on hand. And now that my turkey's out, I'm going to let it sit for about 20 minutes. We're going to get everything in the oven as far as the sides go. I'm just going to cook up my corn on the stove. I'm taking all the drippings from my turkey and I'm adding that to my gravy separator, because I'm actually going to add that to the gravy mix that came with the turkey breast. Gravy separator is also another one of those things that it's definitely not a have to have on Thanksgiving, but it is fabulous to have because it really does separate the fat from the good parts of the turkey juices. And for the corn, I did add a little bit of butter. You totally don't have to do that. Salt and pepper will do on its own. And the gravy mix just says to mix it with the drippings, and you don't have to. You can just mix up the gravy mix as it is. It seems like it has like kind of clumps of almost like cornstarch in it. And you just want to whisk that constantly over medium heat. You could also buy, if yours doesn't come with it, you can buy like one of those packets of gravy mix for, I think it's probably less than $1. So that's a really inexpensive thing to add to that too, if you don't feel like making your own from the drippings. At this point, I also put my carrots in the oven at about 425 degrees, and we're going to cook those for about 20 minutes like that, mixing halfway through. And I put the pie in. We're going to let that go for those 20 minutes covered, and then take the cover off and turn the temperature down. And after that 10 minutes with the carrots, I'm going to put the stuffing in the oven for 10 minutes as well. I also have a cup of water boiling on the stove. We're going to use that to add the potatoes to when the time comes, but it is time to carve the turkey. I'm just going to cut both breasts off the side of the turkey and then slice them. You can get really intense about it and cut every last bit off if you like or you need. That was plenty for us, and I just kind of cut off the rest later. And this carcass is also great for making soup out of, so you can, even if you can't make it right now, you can throw the carcass in your freezer and make a broth out of it later. Now you can very easily jazz up instant mashed potatoes by using chicken bouillon or chicken broth, or adding some cream cheese, some sour cream, any of those things, herbs, whatever you like will make it taste even better. Like I said, we're doing bare bones today, but if you want to, you can add any of those things. Again, I did have butter, so I added a little bit of butter to mine because, just a little bit of extra oomph, but again, it is good without. Now, at this point, I was just trying to kind of get everything on the table. I didn't want the turkey to get cold. The stuffing came out, and I left those carrots in for a little bit longer, and what do you know? They got a little bit burnt. There was some crispy pieces. They tasted delicious. I didn't actually put the crispier ones on the plate because they were kind of black. They probably tasted fine. We didn't need that many carrots because it was just the 5 of us, so not a big deal. But, real life, things happen. You lose track of time. The Thanksgiving dinner is so delicate as far as how much time each thing takes to cook and getting everything on the table at once. And these things happen, and it didn't ruin it for us. It's fine. No use in crying over burnt carrots. I'm also just going to drizzle those with that dressing that I made. That is totally optional. And it's important to note that at the 20-minute mark, after putting everything in the oven at 425, and that pie was covered in tin foil for 20 minutes, I then turned down the temperature in the oven to 350 degrees and set my timer for another 50 minutes. So you want the pie to go for another 50 minutes at 350 degrees at that point. And that way you're not going to burn the crust, because during the hot cooking part, it didn't get on there because of the tin foil. And then we're going to cook it for much longer, really cook those apples. And now we can eat. I have to note, when I initially went shopping, they did not have cranberry sauce, so I couldn't find any, and I didn't add it to my initial budget. But my kids cannot have this without the cranberry, so I did find some separately. It was another couple bucks. You can buy some if you want it. I had mine without, and I was very pleased, so your choice.
And some juices can be like original, like
10 out of 10.
juice and grape juice. Those are original juices.
Tommy, what do you think of the Thanksgiving dinner? That's how good it is?
2 out of 2.
Oh.
And then spoon salute.
No, show me.
He's spalooting with a spoon, and I call it spaloot.
Spalooting?
Nobody.
Spalooting.
Because you're saluting with a spoon?
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for watching today. This pie was absolutely delicious. It came out right at the end of our meal, so we got to have warm apple pie. Obviously, if you can, if you will, if you maybe already have something on hand, go ahead and have some whipped cream or some vanilla ice cream with that, because that is great too. To keep going with the holiday inspiration, go ahead and click on this next video to watch the top 8 Pioneer Woman recipes. Like I said, they are budget friendly and they are delicious.